All right, hey all, we're going to do a video today for the VA, partly for the training department. It's really for the newbies here today. I had an idea for a video from one of the members who had created a document of their own, and they called it procedural checklist. It's very much like the AOM or the flow guide that the VA has. But what he said was, he's new to the VA, he's new to the airplane, and he struggles with understanding a lot of the things that are going on, and it's just a little bit too much information. So is there a way that we can just cut this down and break it down into what I guess we would call a bare bones approach to flying the 737? And is there a way that we can cut this down to just the switches that you would absolutely need to conduct your flights, with cutting out all the extraneous things that don't necessarily need to be done? So we're going to try and do that. We're going to make a video here, a quick hop from Nashville to Knoxville, go Vols. And we're going to try to accomplish this flight flipping as few switches as possible on the overhead, the forward panel, and the center pedestal of the aircraft. So throughout this video, what we're going to do is we're going to run through this document. And if you're interested in this document, you can contact Greg down here. His number was 21949 on the VA. You probably find him on the Discord there. He can give this document to you. I don't want to hand this out to you because it's his. But I'm sure if you ask for it, he'd be happy to give it to you. We went through this together. It was a collaborative effort to put this in logical sequence and flow as best as possible. If you don't have the document, maybe you just want to take a couple screenshots of the document. I'll show you each page here. Page 1, page 2, and page 3, so that you can essentially just have a few screenshots if you can't get your hands on the doc, if you're interested in this. Again, this is for the newbies that are just trying to get through flying the sim here, and a real basic bare bones understanding of what absolutely needs to be done. Now obviously the different like the CDU here, the FMC and the MCP, a lot of those buttons obviously we're not going to include in this document. It's impossible to not have to mash those buttons multiple times throughout a flight to be able to accomplish this. So, but this is what we're going by. We're going to go line by line. We're not going to do anything that's not in this doc. We're not going to add any buttons. We're not going to remove any buttons. We're literally going to go line by line and see if we can get from A to B, and if we've done a good job of creating this document for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with charts and NOTAMs download. I typically use Navigraph, of course, LC5 for charts and NOTAMs, and for all my weather and whatnot. So we're going to start here. I'm going to set this to the side. We're going to walk through this here. I've got LC5 loaded up, and what we're going to do is we've already selected our flight. So we've got charts and NOTAMs. We've got weather and forecast. And what I can do as far as weather and forecast is concerned is go ahead and, as I said, we've already requested our dispatch release. I did request an additional 1,000 pounds of fuel, as I usually do, to make sure that I land with well over 5,000, well, a minimum of 5,000, but sometimes it does bring you up a little bit short, so I want to just add an extra 1,000 pounds. We can go ahead and uplink that to the FMC at some point here. Well, of course, we'll use Rachel for some things, particularly our checklists. I might even use her for 1 or 2 of the flows just to make sure that everything gets accomplished. But I'm going to use her to the minimum extent possible. Departure weather out of Nashville, so we're going to go ahead and look at that. Light winds, VFR day, 3002, some thunderstorms in the forecast. Arrival over there at Knoxville, same deal, VFR day. Looks like we're going to be landing south, 3004, forecast. Not much to it, some thunderstorms again later on. Performance, we'll go ahead and request our takeoff data. Be looking for runway 20 center out of Nashville, I do believe. Let's double check that here. Showing, yeah, using 20 center. Departing 20 center. Okay, perfect. There's our performance data, our co-pilot. Now, these are all clickable now, which is fantastic. You used to have to speak all these. If you don't have a mic, or if you're having a hard time with the sensitivity of the mic, try speaking softer, turning your sensitivity of your mic down, or now you can just go ahead and click these, and it looks like even the checklist you can click, which is fantastic. The checklists themselves. So we're going to, on our second item here, weather and forecast, we got that. Parking brake is set. I'm going to set this to the side as well. Parking brake is set, and of course we need to have that set so we can initialize the flight. That's step number 3. Battery switch on and guarded. Again, we're not going to flip anything more than we're required to flip. We're not adding anything. We're not removing anything. We're going to go line by line, as robotic as possible. Ground power, connect. So in case you don't know anything about this aircraft, hopefully at a minimum you know where to find these buttons. Ground power, connect. And of course, when we connect that, we're going to also want to, once it's connected, go ahead and bring it online. You can see the blue button there, blue light, bring that online. Ground power switch on, AC meter select, ground power, we're already there. You can see our volts and our frequency there for the ground power. AC meter select, we did that. Position lights. We're going to go nav, which is down, and apparently the sim decided to load it in a cold dark state with that already on, so we're going to go ahead and just leave that on. IRS is left and right. We're going to go straight through a line to nav, left and right. Take a peek down here at the CDU and see if we can't go ahead and align that. Waiting for those boxes to show up. There they are. GPS coordinates, we'll pull those, load it in. That way the FMC can initialize. Fuel panel set. Center on only if fueled. So if we don't have any center tank fuel, we don't need the center tank pumps, and this is going to be a short hop, so we're going to leave those off. We're going to bring all 4 of those on. Cabin utility, IFE passenger power, these 2 switches here in reality, those are always on. We could actually just eliminate this from this checklist, but we'll go ahead and leave them there since they're already on there. Emergency exit lights, go ahead and flip the switch down that arms the emergency exit lights. Passenger signs we'll throw on. Of course, the one on the left is just a chime. That one you could just completely ignore if you wanted to. Window heat on. Hydraulic pumps, A's off, B's on, pretty standard. Wheel well light on, which is particularly important because that's how you get all your announcements through LC5, so we should start getting our announcements here very shortly.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome aboard Southwest
Engine
Airlines
start,
flight number
switch,
790.
ignition right. So typically first start of the day would be the right-hand igniter. Then we'll switch it to left after engine start and alternate
Small portable electronic
after that.
devices
Now,
such as cell phones and tablets
granted,
may be
most of us
used
just
in
leave it
airplane
on
mode
left
during
after
all
that
phases
first
of
start.
flight.
Just leave it there.
Cellular functions must be turned off
All
once
right,
the
now
forward entry door
we
is
needed
closed.
to come back
Laptop
to our
computers and
yaw
devices of a
damper.
similar
Reason
size
being
must
is
be
that's
stowed for
not going to
takeoff
work
and
without the
landing.
IRS is
If
engaged.
you're
So now that we
using
got
a
the
portable
IRS is
charger or power
engaged
bank
and
to charge your electronic
the
devices,
CDU coordinates
please
entered, we
keep
can
them
go
in
and throw the
sight
yaw
and
damper
readily
on. So
accessible.
jump back up to that.
Notify
Get
the
that
flight
done.
attendants immediately
Flight
if there are
directors,
signs of overheating.
both on. We'll do the captain's
Please
first. So
ensure
he's
your personal
master.
carry-on
You can see
items
that
are
little
secured
green light
completely
above the
under
button
seat
that
in
says
front of you.
MA for master.
Place larger items in an overhead bin. At this time,
Looking through my list here,
please
just make
fasten
sure I
your
didn't miss
seatbelt
anything. Again,
and
I
bring
want to
your
go by
tray
this
table
step by
and
step.
seat
We
back
don't miss
to the
anything,
full
so we can,
upright and
again,
locked
for the newbies,
position.
just to get them
If you are
spun up
seated in an emergency exit seat,
on the minimum things that
please
they're going to
review
need to do
the
to fly
safety
the
information
aircraft
card
for
in the
VA.
seatback pocket nearest you. If you do not meet all
Auto
the
brake
selection
switch
criteria on
to
the card,
RTO.
are unable to perform the functions, or believe that performing these functions may
LC5,
cause you
sim
harm,
brief, load
please let a
passengers,
flight
cargo,
attendant
and
know
fuel.
so
Now,
we
this
may
is something that
reseat
you
you.
might have wanted
Thank you
to
for choosing
do
Southwest
earlier,
Airlines for
just so
your
that
travel
you
today.
could start getting
We will be
things
departing
rolling
shortly.
in terms of
Good afternoon,
GSX. I'm
everyone.
not going to go ahead and do
From
the
the flight
boarding,
deck,
any of
this is
that
your
stuff. I'm
captain
just going to
speaking.
go ahead and request
I
the
would like
push
to welcome
so
you
that they're
aboard
all set up
Southwest
and ready to
Airlines
go.
Flight 790 with service to Knoxville.
But as far as your fuel
We
and
will be
whatnot, you
pushing back from the
probably
gate
want to
shortly.
get that going sooner than later because
flight
that stuff
time
does
today is
take a
50
long
minutes.
time. Now, in
Thank
my
you for flying
LC5
Southwest
dispatch, I
Airlines.
did click
Welcome
uplink,
aboard.
so they're going to uplink all the information in terms of fuel,
The forward
payload,
door
all
has been
that stuff.
closed.
I would highly recommend
Please
you use
ensure the
that.
cellular functions of small portable
Flight
electronic
plan, also
devices
through
are
LC5, if
turned
you want
off.
to pre-file for
They may be
VATSIM
used
or
in
whatever
airplane mode only.
network that you're flying on, you
Flight
probably want to go ahead and
attendants
do that
run
at this
across
time.
check doors.
ATIS acquire, so if you've got your VPilot open, grab the ATIS for the airport that you're departing out of. Get your LC5 performance data, which I also did off screen. ATC clearance, call up the ground controller, delivery controller, get your clearance if you're flying on the network. Pressurization, so we skip down to that now, or we skip that on the overhead panel, just until we got our dispatch release, because of course on our dispatch release, as you know, we need to file the release and see what's our cruise altitude going to be, and then we can also pull our landing elevation. We'll call that 1,000 feet. So 21,000 feet is what we're going to cruise at, landing at 1,000 feet. And really, until we know what we're going to cruise at based off our dispatch release, we really can't set that. So we'll come back and go ahead and set that now. Back to our sheet, FMC, initialize and program. So we initialized already. The route, if I click this little button that brings up the iPad thing here, I can usually go EFB, request data from SimBrief. That'll bring in my flight plan. That way I should be able to load the flight plan. And I'd already done this flight once, so it looks like it's already in there and ready to go. But we'll go ahead and do that, initialize our flight plan. Then also on the dispatch release, if you saw it earlier there when I had it on the screen,
locking gear,
was the Tasmo Burmy. Now, real to the real aircraft, it doesn't load the star. You have to do that yourself. 20 center, so we're going to execute that. And then once route page 2, Tasmo Burmy, so we got the transition to Burmy, and then it's direct to Knoxville, direct to the airport. So we're going to go ahead then and just put the airport in. Of course, it didn't take the K. I don't think I clicked it in the first place. TYS, airport. Whoop. I'll go ahead and select that. They're going to bug me until I release the brakes now, of course. Then the airport, so direct, execute that. We're essentially programmed. What we still need to do, though, is uplink our performance. So I'll go ahead and click that on LC5, and you can watch the magic happen over there. We'll get rid of this. We're going to fix this. And basically what we're doing now, we're going to wait for that to happen. We got a couple checklists we have to run. We're still going through our document here. Pressurization set, FMC's program, mode control panel, the MCP. So now we're all talking about all up here. We're going to go ahead and set 15,000 feet. That's the top of the SID. If you want to look at the chart, if we were to get a climb via, there is a hold down there of 7,000 feet, but they usually say climb via, even though they do the hold downs now and again. 201 is going to be our initial heading, but we're going to do this in LNAV. We'll set 201 anyway, just so everything jives. And then down here, once she's done putting all that information in, be able to set our speed bug for V2. So mode control panel, we'll skip back to that here in a second. EFIS control panel is next. Our barrel minimums we want to set, and that's going to be 1599 because airport elevation is 599. So we're going to go 1599. We're going to roll that up, get real close. There we go, 1599. So now our acceleration altitude is basically bugged barrel. I'm going to set the altimeter according to our departure weather in Nashville. It was 3002, so we'll set that. And then I also turn on terrain. This is all in the ND, traffic, and airports. You can see airports there. We'll set it to a 10-mile range. And essentially we'll be ready to go. I'll go ahead and set up the FO side as well. Train, traffic, airports on a 10-mile range. The barrel and the altimeter is synced, so I don't have to worry about that. Let's go back here. Now that we've got our data loaded, executed, takeoff 134 for V2. Go ahead and spin that in here. Now, the other thing that you would notice is the courses. We could usually set that to our EFP procedure. That's probably just going to be straight out. I believe it's actually a 220. Slight right turn after takeoff. We can let Rachel get that here in a moment, because I am going to let her go ahead and do that setup for me. Stab trim, that's going to come off the performance data. That shows 3.8. We're apparently really light here. 134,000 pounds. I'm not sure if I loaded everything correctly, but we're going to go with it. Pretty close. Okay. Comms radios, go ahead and set that up for your VATSIM flight. Set your transponder code in. That's the last item on our list here. And TARA and on. Don't use the auto position because when you land it goes to standby, and that doesn't work very well for the online ATC. Select COM 1, that's the one you're going to communicate on. We can set guard standby, so that's ready for us for later. We're going to spin that in there. We're going to activate that at 10,000 feet. In fact, you can just put it on now. Typically what we use the COM 2 for is maybe a ramp frequency, maybe a ops frequency, but there's really not going to any reason you're going to need any of that in VATSIM, so you're going to basically just be on COM 1. You can monitor COM 2 by pressing that button there, then that way you'll be monitoring guard. So that's pretty much it. That rolls us through the entirety of our cockpit preparation checklist. I'm going to let, we're going to do the flight deck preparation.
Check.
And we're going to let her do a bunch of things in the background that we didn't do. Obviously, there's a lot of things we didn't do, a lot of dusty switches, things we didn't touch, things we didn't test, fire warning, that sort of thing. We're going to let her do her thing. She's going to spin in some stuff for us. She's going to put in the courses, that EFP for us. So use this. If you're not very familiar with how to fly the aircraft, there's a lot of things that she will do for you. And if you just feel like flipping switches and twisting knobs by yourself, then this thing will work out really well for you. The last item then, of course, on our sheet is going to then direct us, once we're done with those, is to do our checklists. So we can even go ahead and do those. And we're going to, of course, use Rachel for those. If you don't want to, you can, of course, simply click checklist here and run through those checklists yourself. She obviously is the
before start originating checklist,
automated
logbook
procedure here. And, of course, responses are listed there on this side. I can bring that back again. Aboard.
Landing gear pins.
3 aboard.
Fire warning and overheat.
Checked.
Start levers.
Cut off.
Stab trim cutout switches.
Normal. Normal.
Lights test.
Checked.
FMC.
Programmed.
Briefings.
Complete.
Oxygen masks and quantity.
Checked.
EECs.
On.
Navigation switches.
Normal.
Display switches.
Auto and normal.
Fuel.
Checked.
Passenger
I'm just going to
signs.
say check for that one because she rarely recognizes everything I say. On.
Window heat.
On.
Hydraulic pumps.
A's off, B's on.
Pressurization.
Set auto.
Flight instruments.
3002 set. 3002 set.
Auto brake.
RTO.
Takeoff warning horn.
That's that throttle burst. Checked.
Parking brake.
Set.
Transponder.
TARA.
Aileron and rudder trim.
Centered.
OFP fit for duty.
Accepted and signed.
Before start originating checklist.
So you can click that, or you can request those. Now, obviously, there's some things there that we had on the checklist that we didn't look at. You might not be familiar with. It's just kind of the way it is until you get more familiar. But that's what this is about. You don't necessarily need to understand all those items, where they're at, what exactly you're looking for, logbook, the landing gear pins that are normally stored there. In fact, the landing gear pins on this model are here. But again, you know, those are not things that you necessarily need to know to fly this aircraft right out of the gate if you're not real familiar with how to fly or operate the aircraft. Now we got the fault, and it does occasionally happen. It's a little bit of a bug. We'll just cycle it off, start again. We're going to keep on moving here. And I do apologize for that beeping. We're getting through this as fast as possible. Before push checklist.
Before push checklist. Zero fuel weight.
What's going to happen, normally we would have our data on this CDU and we would verify that we've loaded everything properly into this CDU. Now that's not exactly how it works in the sim, so we're just going to have to go with it. 124.6 set.
Gross weight.
134.5 cross check.
PWB remarks.
Reviewed.
N1s.
57 over 32 reduced set.
Runway.
20 center set.
Flaps.
PWB 25, CDU 25.
V speed.
128, 129, 134 set.
Stab trim.
3.8 set.
Min cleanup altitude.
Of course, min cleanup altitude is here. 1599 set.
Flight deck door.
Lights out.
Before push checklist complete.
All right, with any luck, our APU did start. It did. We can go to APU gen up here if we want to. We got good power. We got a blue light. Let's bring both of those online. Now that we've done that, we can get this beeping to stop. Ground services. We're going to release, and we're going to release. Now they can stop complaining. So we've completed our flow, our checklist, our document, procedural document here up to this point. Before push procedure, I knew I needed the APU, so I went and got that started and the generator on. APU bleed on. We're going to keep on going with our procedural checklist. Nothing more, nothing less. APU bleed on. Now technically we should wait 2 minutes from the time we get the blue light to bring that online if you're trying to perform this as true to form. bleed is on. We're going to bring our packs to auto, the middle position. Our isolation valve to auto. Sorry. We should actually leave that. Yeah, we'll leave it in auto. Isolation valve. No, it does say auto or open. I was wondering why we didn't have it in open. It does say open, so we're good. Now you can see the opening that we actually allow air to flow through to that right-hand pack, and you can see how that pressurization equalized. So that's correct. Ground power disconnect. We did that so we could get that beeping to stop. Ground equipment removed. We removed the chocks. Anti-collision light on. Pushback clearance acquire. If you're flying on the network, of course you want to grab your pushback clearance from ATC. And now we are essentially ready to push. I think they're ready to go. Maybe they just need me to release the brakes.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
So they're pushing us back. Obviously, we're good to start.
If we could have your attention for just a moment, we'd like to point out the safety features of our Boeing 737-800.
Engine start procedure. Engine bleeds on. Those are on. Isolation valve. We're going to go back to
fasten your
auto.
seatbelt, slide the front end
Packs
into the buckle.
Off.
Pull
So
the
we
loose
get air
strap
from
to
the
tighten.
APU, not to the
Release,
packs, but
lift
to
up
the
on the
engines for
buckle.
starting.
Position your seatbelt
Number
tight
2,
and low
start
across your
switch,
hips and wear it
ground.
anytime you are seated.
And we're going to watch.
There are 8
our
emergency
engine
exits, 2
indications.
forward
We
exit
have our start
doors,
valve
4
open,
overwing
watch
window
the
exits,
N2
and 2
roll
exit
up.
doors in the back. Signs
What we're
overhead
looking
and
for
lights
is to
on the
bring the
floor
start
lead to
lever
exits. If an
to
evacuation
idle
is
once
necessary,
we're at or
follow
above
flight attendant commands
20%
and leave everything.
N2. And we're also looking for
In the
oil
event
pressure,
of a
which we
water
got. Oil
evacuation,
pressure.
use the life vest under your seat.
It's our first call out.
Remove the
when we
vest
say oil
only if
pressure.
told to
Please
do
set
so.
parking brake.
Pull the strap
Light
to
off
open the
is
container.
our second
Remove
call
the
out.
pouch.
Once we see a rise in
Remove the vest
EGT,
from the pouch as shown on the safety information
Waiting your
card.
confirmation for a
Place
good
the
engine
vest over
start.
your head.
clear them off.
Wrap the
so they
strap
can get
around your
going.
waist.
Cockpit to
Buckle
ground.
it in the front.
We have a good engine
and
start.
pull to
You
tighten.
can disconnect.
And our last
Once outside,
call, when this
pull
red
down
tick
on the red
goes
tab
away,
to
is
inflate the vest.
rollback. Looking
To
for 2,
manually
4,
inflate,
6. We have a
blow
stable
into the
engine.
tube at your shoulder.
Once we have
The
rollback,
vest has a
stable
light
engine,
that
we're gonna
turns
come
on
back to
automatically
our
in the
flow
water.
procedure.
Please refer
Isolation
to the
valve
safety information
closed.
card for use
Pack
of a life
number
vest
2,
on an infant.
auto. We call that
Flight
isolate,
attendants
ventilate. That
will
gets air to the
distribute
cabin
vests if needed.
while we start the number 1 engine.
We are coming by to check that your seatbelt
Number
is
1,
fastened,
start
your
switch,
seat back and
ground.
tray table are in the full upright and
And
locked
we'll repeat
position,
that process.
and your carry-on items are completely under the
Engine
seat in front of
Number
you
1,
or in an
start
overhead
lever
bin,
to idle.
leaving the
Once
area
we reach
around
a
your
minimum
feet
of
clear.
20% N2. Of course, you can wait longer.
Smoking is not
Oil
allowed
pressure.
on board, including the lavatories. The
Tow
use
truck
and charging of
disconnected.
electronic
5
cigarettes
past
and
10
vape devices
removed.
is
Watch the
prohibited.
EGT.
Federal law prohibits tampering
Left is
with,
clear,
disabling,
right
or
is
destroying
clear.
any
And
smoke
again, when the
detector
red
in
tick
an
goes away,
aircraft
we'll have
lavatory.
rollback and a
It
completed
is
engine
also
start.
prohibited to consume alcohol that you have brought with you on this flight.
The
Federal
last
aviation
item in our engine start
regulations
procedure,
require
according to our
passenger
document, is
compliance
clock
with the
start
lighted
after
passenger
rollback.
information
So there's our
signs,
rollback. We'll go
posted
ahead and start the
placards,
clock.
and crew member instructions,
And that's
including
for our
information on
engine
seatbelts
warm-up
and
times. Our ground crew's going away. Good for them.
smoking. If needed, 4 oxygen masks will drop from a compartment overhead. To activate the flow of oxygen,
Once
pull
they're
down on the
clear,
mask until the
ground crew
plastic
is
tubing
away.
is fully
Safe
extended.
to change
Place the
configuration of the
mask over
aircraft.
your nose and mouth
Very
and breathe
interesting.
normally.
Our after start
Secure the mask
procedure
with the
says
elastic
engine
strap.
generators
Although oxygen will
on.
be flowing, the plastic bag may not
Oops,
inflate.
wrong way.
Continue
On.
wearing the mask until
AC
otherwise
meter
notified by a crew
select
member.
Gen 1.
If you are
That
traveling
makes
with
sense because we're going
children
to
or
turn the
anyone
APU
needing
off, which is
special
going to go to
assistance,
zeros.
put on your
I
mask
typically will
first.
keep these in standby
Please
power. You
remove
can
any
put them
face
wherever you
coverings
want.
before donning an oxygen mask.
Probe heat on.
We are here for your comfort and safety.
Engine and
Please
wing
report any
anti-ice
unwelcome
as
behavior
required.
to a
You'll never
flight
use the wing
attendant.
anti-ice
Thank
on
you
the
for your
ground, so
attention.
engine anti-ice
Now
will
sit
only
back,
be
relax,
used on the
and
ground.
enjoy your
We don't have- it's a
50-minute flight to
beautiful day.
Knoxville.
Hot
Welcome
summer
aboard
day,
Southwest.
obviously there's no ice, no slush on the ground, nothing frozen precipitation falling, so we don't need the engine anti-ice. Again, wing would only be used in the air. Our next step, hydraulic pumps on. You can see how this flows downward, okay, and then we're going to cross down, over, down. So that's why it is called a flow. It does flow. Packs to auto. Isolation valve to auto. APU bleed off. Again, just following this document. Engine start switches, both to continuous and left. That's why we say left continuous. You'll hear that in a checklist response later. APU off. course, make sure that you got those engine generators on. Before you bring that off, you're going to lose power of the aircraft. Flaps set for takeoff. So here we are, our takeoff reference page. I'm going to clear this message. Flaps 25. Now, if we were to ask Rachel to do our after start procedure, after she started our engines, she would say standing by flaps. That's your cue to call for flaps 25. And then we would say control check.
Control check.
And she would do the tops normally. Obviously, she can't move the controls. Captain would do the rudders. The last item in our flow document here after flaps is the taxi light on, so that we're ready for taxi. And then, of course, we would call for a clearance, call for our taxi clearance. Of course, we also need to do our before taxi checklist, but then you call for your taxi clearance, get your taxi instruction, in particular if you're online with ATC, before taxi checklist. And if I speak too loudly, sometimes you have to speak a little softer, reduce your mic sensitivity. Before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist. Electrical.
Generators on.
Probe heat.
On.
Anti-ice.
Off.
Flight controls.
Free.
Flight deck windows.
Close and locked.
Flaps.
CDU 25. Indicates 25. Green light.
Before taxi checklist. Complete.
So again, you have to kind of play with your mic settings, maybe speak a little softer. Go ahead and get our taxi going here. So far we're completely done with page 1 of our document. We're going to be moving on here. Our before takeoff procedure will be next, and what we'll do is we'll just hit this as we're holding short of the runway. So right now all we have to do, get our taxi chart out, we're going to follow our taxi diagram, and what we're going to do is we're going to go out to 20 center, we're going to take it around the corner here, Tango 4, Sierra 7, crossing 31. Again, if ATC was online, you'd want to be making sure that you're making these communications calls. And typically what I would say there is whatever you are. Southwest 1, just pushed off gate, Delta 3, ATIS X-ray, taxi. Keep it brief. And more than likely he'd say runway 20 center, taxi via Tango 4, Sierra 7, cross runway 31, something like that. So just follow the instructions, real simple. Taxi speed limit in the straights, I would say around 20 to 25 is probably fast enough. The corner's a little bit slower than that. You can see I kind of overshot that turn a little bit. If you're running right through the fire warning switch here, you're pretty much on center line. Your taxi light, of course, indicates to other aircraft that you're moving or intending to move. If you were told to maybe stop and hold short of this crossing intersection, I would stop and turn off the taxi light, and then when ready to taxi again, turn the light back on again. I'm certainly not going to allow the sim to cut me off here, so I'm not on the network today. Some airports have ramp control. Nashville has a ramp separate of ground, but they usually don't staff that on the network. Alright, normally, lights on.
Lights on.
We would say clear left, clear right, clear to cross, so we turn on all the lights. You can hear that she had turned on her lights. I have my lights on. Of course, no one's going to know that you did or didn't do this except for you. You're trying to follow the procedures correctly. And then, of course, once we cross this further, hold short line here, we can bring the lights off again. And I like that you can ask her or command her to lights off.
Lights off.
A lot of neat things that she can do for you. I would suggest using LC5, using these procedural items, and let her do all this work for you. Instead of trying to click through all these buttons yourself, it does make your life a lot easier. I'm going to do a quick throttle burst. That's the first item of our before takeoff procedure. The reason being is if I come over here and I set the parking brake, I'll actually get the takeoff warning horn because the parking brake is set. So we'll go ahead and do that one, knock that one out. That will be the first item on that list. We're going to pull up here, hold short to 20 center, and we're going to pull out our document again, and we're going to run through it. Very robotic. We're a brand new pilot, and we don't want to miss anything. So we're going to go and set the brake since we're stopped. We're going to pull out our document again here. And you can see, again, we're going to follow the document here all the way down here through, and we'll probably even just have it off screen here until we get up to our cruise altitude. So our before takeoff procedure, we got takeoff config. That's that throttle burst that we did, just making sure that we didn't get the warning horn, which would sound like that because we have the parking brake set. We're going to give our attendants with the attendant button 1 press. Our auto throttle will arm. At this point, we decide
We have been cleared for departure.
An
Enjoy
RNAV
your
type
flight.
procedure where we want to do LNAV off the ground, or are we going to get a heading off the ground? This is an RNAV type procedure, so we're going to do LNAV and VNAV. Our landing lights come on. Our runway turnoff lights come on. Our position lights go to strobe steady. Again, I could just ask Rachel to do lights on. Our wing light comes on. And now we had our engine warm up plenty of time. I'm going to go and reset the clock again. That step is completely optional for you. Whether or not you want to do that is up to you for your en route flight time. I would suggest being on the legs page and then init ref R6 2 times the takeoff ref page. That way you can see what your takeoff thrust setting is supposed to be, 92.7. Essentially at this point we're ready for the before takeoff checklist.
Before takeoff checklist. Min takeoff fuel.
Verified.
Departure plan.
Not required.
Attendant notification.
Complete.
Electrical.
Generators on.
Anti-ice.
Off.
Packs.
Auto.
Bleeds.
Engines on. APU off. Engines on. APU off.
Start switches.
Left continuous.
APU.
Off.
Flaps.
CDU 25. CDU 25 indicates 25. Green light.
Start levers.
Idle.
Recall.
Checked. Very nice. As you can see, she pressed this recall button for me, and that would show any indicators, which essentially tells me if there's any overhead lights on that I would need to correct the condition for before takeoff. Since we don't have any of those, that's clear. Checked.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
Also, that first item, min takeoff fuel, that's where you're back on your release, making sure that you're not departing less than what your minimum takeoff fuel here would be, 8.5, call it 8.6 currently. We're showing 9.6. We're 1,000 pounds over our min takeoff fuel, currently showing to land with 6.7. Our release shows landing with 6,000, so we're good to go there. Obviously, we don't want to take off with less fuel than's required to complete the flight. So on our sheet, we've completed our before takeoff checklist. It's now our takeoff procedure. What we're going to do is we're going to roll it onto the runway. We got our lights on. Final is clear. We've verified our runway 20 center. Maybe ATC cleared us for takeoff, told us to fly the departure, maybe gave us a runway head, maybe gave us a heading. Or maybe we're offline, we're just going to self-announce that we're departing off the runway. What we're going to do is we're going to roll out onto the runway, get the center line set. We're going to set the thrust again. We're following our cheat sheet over here. We're going to set our thrust to 40%. Normally we would press the toga button, which is here on the throttle. PMDG's done us a nice little favor and put it right there where that screw is, stabilized. Toga, we're going to monitor the speeds. V1's our decision speed, whether we're going to board or continue. VR is rotate. And then V2, our min safe climb.
80 knots.
80 knots.
At a positive rate of climb, of course, we'll bring the landing gear up. Once we rotate, we're going to just rotate smoothly into the command bars of the flight director.
V1.
V1.
Rotate.
Rotate.
Nice and easy. Once you break ground, you can bring it up into the flight director.
Positive rate
That's
of
just so
climb.
you know it's back to landing gear up.
Positive rate. Landing gear up.
that hourglass, the green hourglass, what we're going to do is set speed, flaps 15, climb thrust.
Set speed, flaps 15, climb thrust.
So we're going to retract the flaps on schedule. Now I'm below that 15 bucks, so I can't go to 5 yet. If you look at the airspeed tape, follow the command bars. Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
And follow that schedule. Once above the 5, flaps 1.
Flaps 1.
And once above the 1, we can do flaps up. Flaps up. Flaps up.
Flaps up.
Alright, now, autopilot's engaged. At about 1,000 feet above their airport elevation. Watch what she's going to do. A little magic here once the flaps are up and completely set. And that's what our procedure said as well. Flaps at 1,000 feet, AGL reduced to up on schedule. At or above 1,000 feet AGL, autopilot is required. Taxi light, now that we're clean, taxi light off. Wheel well light off. Landing gear off and auto brake off, which she did for us. Also notice that we have a climb to reduction, reduced takeoff climb with the assumed temperature. That was that temperature of whatever over whatever. She'll delete that for us automatically at 5,000 feet AGL. At or above 3,000 feet AGL, we're in VNAV. I'm going to close that speed window, let it accelerate to 250 knots, which is what we have programmed in our climb speed here, 250 below 10. Once we exceed 10,000 feet, it will jump to the 297, all automagically. Let's say I want to do 310 knots in the climb. Just go ahead and put 310 there. Doesn't like the slash. 310. Execute. So now you'll watch. Once we exceed 10,000 feet, it'll jump to 310 knots. Here's the 5,000 feet. Watch that CDU. She'll probably delete that out for me here very shortly, which is very nice of her. Here it comes. Now we've got our full climb thrust. What I do wish they would do for me, though, put that back to Prague for me after she's done. Whoop. Up to my throttle. We do have a hold down here, 5,000 to 7,000 feet at Aru. You're always protected in VNAV, even though we've got a higher altitude in the window, so the aircraft's going to level off. Now I got two ways I can delete that. Well, once you pass it, it will automatically climb. I can delete here, execute, or that's what this altitude intervention button is for as well. Right here, I can punch that, and look, that restriction is gone. One tap, and that's gone. Careful you don't mash it multiple times, so you can delete multiple restrictions. Our next procedure here will be at 10,000 feet. Of course, you're communicating with ATC had they told you to contact departure. In this case, since we're on this departure climbing via the SID, I would have checked on with the initial altitude, Southwest whatever we are, out of whatever altitude, 3,400 climbing via the Tasmo 4. They would have said climb and maintain level 210. If that's the case, you can delete those restrictions. Climb your cruise altitude, which is also our cruise window here.
10,000 feet.
210. Let's do our climb flow here. 10,000 feet. Our sheet says attendant button press. Engine start switch is off. And VHF
In a few
radio
moments,
number
we will
2
be coming through to
monitoring
take your drink orders.
guard.
We will be serving complimentary
do
snacks, soft drinks, juice, and coffee.
Climb checklist.
Premium
Climb
selections,
checklist.
including alcohol, are also
Pressurization.
available for purchase
Checked.
or by
Start
redeeming
switches.
a valid drink
Off.
coupon.
APU.
There is a
Off.
beverage menu in your
Climb
seatback
checklist
pocket,
complete.
And just
or
real
you may
quick,
go
what
to
you're
the
looking at
Southwest
there,
beverage
if
menu
you're not
on
real
the
familiar,
in-flight
make sure you've got a
entertainment portal,
split. You should have a fairly low
southwestwifi.com,
number here.
where
We're
these
cabin
options are
altitude set
displayed.
still at about 1,000
Please
feet.
be mindful of the flight
And our
attendants
cabin
serving you in the
differential
aisle,
pressure
and
is
remain
about
seated while the
4.5
fasten seatbelt sign
psi.
is on.
Slight
We have
climb in the
lavatories
cabin
in the front and
with
back
this
of the
split,
aircraft.
slight climb, not
The
a
sign on the ceiling indicates
gigantic
whether the
climb like we're
lavatory is
doing. That
occupied.
means we're pressurized.
Please do not form a line at the forward lavatory. Your safety will always be our #1 priority,
It's nice, the
so
cabin
please don't
announcements
hesitate
with
to
the
let us know
FAs. We
if
can
you
zoom
have
out
other
just a
needs we
little
can
bit.
take
What
care
else
of.
do we have here? We have another altitude restriction, but it's a 10,000 A, which means above. And we're easily going to outclimb Sandy at or above 10,000 feet, so we're looking good there. Again, if I was to press that button, I could delete that restriction. I don't need that restriction if they said climb and maintain. If they said climb via the SID except maintain, then I would still need to abide by those restrictions. It's a short hop, our top of climb. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Sometimes that happens when you just roll your mouse trying to zoom. Prague page, 112 miles to go. We're anticipated to touchdown with the routing that we have of 2029 Zulu with 6.5 on the fuel. We currently have 7.8. Current time is 20:08, so in about 21 minutes, we're going to touch down. Now that's of course without an approach. We need to start getting into our cruise before top of descent procedure that's on our document, simply because this is such a short flight. So let's bring that over, even though we're not at cruise just yet. We can look at that. What we're going to do, we turn our center fuel pumps off with that first indication of low pressure. We don't have any center fuel tank fuel, so we don't have those pumps on in the first place. ATIS and gate information. Well, I already know off of LC5 it said it was going to be gate 7, so I have that. We can grab our ATIS information. And again, what we've got here is weather, arrival, weather. If it would work for me here. If not, we'll just try it like this. And finally, it was just a little slow. Okay. Winds variable, 10 miles of visibility, few at 3,000, scattered 10,000. Altimeters 3000. It's nice and hot. Good forecast. No digital ATIS information. So we're going to have to basically make our own determination which way we're going to land. With winds variable at 4, the PW will always treat that as a tailwind, so it really doesn't matter which runway I select. I'm going to end up with a tailwind. We'll just do 5 left. It's more straight in. You should verify these numbers here. I didn't. I'm not too terribly concerned about it. It should have brought it over automatically. Our zero fuel weight matches. 6.0 was the landing gas. We said, if you want to be really technical about it, 6.4. It's not going to change anything, honest to God, but we can go ahead and bump that up just to be on the safe side here. Request landing data one more time. Flaps 30 landing. No anti-ice, anything like that. Our speed's 41 and 46, a +5 additive. That's always the minimum. It could be up to 15 depending on gusts and whatnot. And then here's your auto brake settings. 329 feet of margin remaining. The idea there is if you land in the touchdown zone with auto brakes 3 using the thrust reverses, you'll have about 329 feet of runway remaining if you let it stop completely with the auto brakes. There's also some margin in there, but we'll just use 3. We're going to try to make it earlier, maybe an earlier turn off. I do want to land within the first 3,000 feet of the runway, ideally shooting for the first 15 to 2,000 feet, 1,000 to 2,000 feet of the runway, but definitely not outside of the touchdown zone. We've also talked before about latest touchdown point. I don't want to get into a lot of detail on that for this video, plus I got a short flight here. So we've got our landing data, our ATIS and our landing data, our FMC star approach. We need to program that. We'll come back to these numbers and put them in at a later time. For now, we'll again set this to the side. There's 2021. We did miss our 18,000 foot. Let's hit our standard button there for our altimeters. So our climb procedure, 18,000 feet, was altimeters standard. Landing lights off. Runway turn off lights off. Logo lights off. We should only need those during the night. And wing lights off. That's our 18,000 foot procedure. We can get back into our cruise and top of descent tasks now. ATIS again, gate information we already have. FMC star and approach. We need to load that up. Now we don't have an arrival. There's no star. We did decide we were going to land runway 5 left. If we pull up the chart for 5 left, the ILS, what we can do is take a look at the chart. Make this big for a bit. We don't have a star. There is no stars in Knoxville whatsoever. ILS runway 5 left. What we're going to do is we're going to do a visual approach backed up with the ILS here. I'm not going to go into a gigantic briefing. All I want to show you is that we're going to load it from swell, because we're coming from that direction anyway, and it gives me a few extra fixes. If I don't select a transition, it might give me bend up, but it's probably only going to give me bend feet in, and I want a little bit more than that. So we'll load up swell, and we're going to do 3 things here for a visual approach at a minimum. Frequency, course, touchdown zone. Now if we're doing full ILS, we need to look at a few more items. We'd set 1153 instead of 953. Review our missed approach procedure. Take a look at that chart, do all that you need to do. We've done other videos on briefings and whatnot, safe altitudes, etc. So go ahead and set that up. We've said we want to do that off of swell. Here it is. Go to our legs page, confirm. After, we're currently navigating to Burmy, and then it'll be the airport. We've got swell, Benda, Benfee, the runway, and then of course the missed approach procedure out to Nealon and hold at about 4,100. We'll execute that.
Traffic. Traffic.
It's just a sim traffic. I'm just going to completely ignore all of this stuff. In fact, I don't want to hear it, so I'm going to go ahead and just turn that off. Then I don't have to look at it. I'll turn it back on after we get past this guy if I remember. So again, back to our document, because we're newbie pilots here. We're going to take a look at this again. You know, we've got to set up our nav aids and ILS, our approach courses, our minimums, radio or baro, our landing data. Let's just walk through this. Our approach is loaded in the FMC, our nav aids and the ILS. We got our NIT ref page here after we've loaded that approach. We can also get some information here. 110.3051, that's what we want to set.
From the flight deck, we have reached our cruising altitude of 21,000 feet. We are expecting a smooth ride and will turn off the seatbelt sign when it is safe to do
and then
so.
this is pretty
We will
slick
check
here.
back in
Our
during the
touchdown
Please sit back
zone
and
for
enjoy
this
the
visual
flight.
approach is 953, and so instead of holding and spinning this knob, what I'm going to do is ask Rachel to do it. Set barrel minimums 0953.
Check.
And she'll do it just like that. It's great. Of course, I can also ask for other things. You can look up the user's manual for LC5. But those 3 things I need to set at a minimum. I'm going to do a visual approach here, backed up with the ILS here to 5 left. Back to our document. We set the nav aids, ILS, approach courses, minimums of baro set, in this case, barometric altitude instead of radio minimums. This is if we were doing a Cat 2 or Cat 3 approach. We're going to use baro in this case. Landing data, we did do that. And if I do remember, it was 141 plus 5. So we're going to make that 5 big. 146 for our approach speed, 141 for our ref speed. Auto brakes as required. We said we were going to do a 3 based off our landing data there from LC5. Arrival briefing complete. We got a little time to top a descent, so I guess we'll go ahead and do that. Basically, what we're looking at is a visual backed up with the ILS 5 left. We've got 110.3 set with a course of 051. Down to a touchdown at 953. Of course, we're doing it all as visually in approach mode, LNAV, and glide slope there. Or, I'm sorry, localizer glide slope. Safe altitude on our side of everything here is 5,100 feet. That's terrain down here, 2766. Highest obstacle is 7,900 feet to the southeast of Volunteer, VXVVOR. Those are minimum safe altitude. Essentially, we saw those fixes in the FMC Benfee on in. Our missed approach procedure, since it's a visual, would be tower assigned. Otherwise, what we could do is, if they assign the published mist, or we decided to fly the published mist, that would be up to 4,100 feet direct to Volunteer, then out to Nealon and Mold. We saw that was in there as well. Once we get down there, we should see a PAPI on the left side. They got the Mauser type approach lighting. What we're going to try to do is aim to shoot, to turn off here at this high speed Bravo 5. And then we just taxi as a sign here, probably back on Bravo Tango across to the gate, maybe even up Bravo Sierra across, and then alpha to the gate. But you just have to listen up to ATC's instructions and do what they tell you to do. Nice long runway, so as we said, we want to touch down at least the first 3,000 feet of the runway. If we're not down by then, we'll go around, try it again. Keep it basic, keep it simple. There's not too much, not too complicated. Don't be afraid to go around. I think that's one thing that I would suggest is if you aren't comfortable, you don't feel like you're doing a stabilized, safe approach, then just go around. We'll say ATC gave us a descent, 10,000. I got two ways to do this. I can do level change, or I can hit that altitude intervention button, which will force the VNAV into a descent. I'm also going to go ahead and just go to direct to swell. Make my life a little bit easier here. Plus, the other thing about that is if I go direct to swell, I can get a little information here. Like, let's say they wanted us to cross swell at, I don't know, bend is at 3. We'll just say swell at 5. And that'll give me a little planning information. So 5,000 feet, I get back into VNAV. I should be able to. And if not, I'll tell you what, we'll just keep it in level change until we figure out something else. I can tell you right now that we're high as can be, so we need to get the speed brakes out. We're going to go level change. We'll keep the high speed up, keep the nose pitched over. For some reason, it seems to be having a hard time figuring out the data here. It doesn't have any vertical speed or anything. Going direct to swell, crossing at 5. So they just have a little bit of a glitch. The banana there tells you where you're going to reach 10,000 feet, so I'm still going to be high of swell even. Alright, things happen fast on quick flights, short flights, so let's get back into our sheet here. Our approach procedure below 18,000 feet, seatbelt sign on, 1 ding, landing lights on, runway turn-off lights on, engine start switches to continuous.
As we make our final
lights
descent
at
into Knoxville,
night, wing lights
small
during
portable
the day.
electronic devices may continue to
Our
be
arrival
used
weather
in
at
airplane mode,
Knoxville
but
was
must be secured for the remainder of the
3000
flight.
for the altimeter.
Please ensure
that
all
dialed
carry-on
in.
items are completely under the seat.
And
or in
the
an
thing about
overhead
LC5 too is if
Leaving
you don't hit the
area
button,
around
she'll
your
make that
feet
announcement
clear.
out of
Please raise your
lower
seat back
altitude
to the tray
anyway.
table to the full
So
upright and locked
she'll do
position
it for you.
and fasten your seatbelt. We will come by one
For
last
grins,
time.
let's
Pick up
go
cups, cans, newspapers, and
as
any
if
other
instead of
trash.
going to swell, we
Thank
had a vector. So in this case, we're going to go heading select. We're going to keep going down to 10,000 feet, level change. Got to remember we have the speed brakes out. And we're going to go Benda. I don't want to go direct to Benda. I'm going to extend this course. I want a chalk line here, extended center line. So I'm going to just change that to my inbound course of 051. Put that right there. See what it's going to do. Execute. And we should be getting some VNAV data, but we're not. Something's borked here. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. It may have been a cruise issue. It should be giving me a vertical deviation path here. What I need for a vertical speed to go. Let's try go direct and see if it'll do it. It should be giving me data here, and it's not. We're going to level at 10 because we need to slow. 250 below 10 always. I'm going to keep the speed brakes out because we're super fast here and high. Benda at 3. That's only about 15 miles away, so pretty high. But I think we can make it happen. Flaps, if you can get the flaps out below your flap speed, you get those leading edge flaps out. Even flaps 1 can do a lot for you in terms of drag. Of course, the landing gear is a great tool to get you down a lot faster. Currently, we are 24 miles from the airport. You should put that on the fixed page here as well, the runway. You can even draw rings /10. Put a ring around the runway. I try to be at 210. I'm going to turn all the throttles off just for a moment here because I don't want them powering up. I want to slow and I want to go down. So let's get into level change. Go down to 3,000.
10,000 feet.
Now we're in level change, idle. We can bring it back on. It's armed. Let's give ourselves a little bit of a turn here. just to widen out to get rid of some altitude. A lot of these things you can't put on a sheet. It's just got to fly the airplane. There's nothing more you can do. Some of this stuff just comes with time, learning how the aircraft flies, what you can do in terms of descents and whatnot. The air traffic controller, obviously, again, 051 for the course, would have given you a descent, I'm sure, a lot sooner than what I gave myself to not let this sort of thing happen. But again, you know, we're kind of in the paper here trying to talk through this whole thing at the same time as well. We did complete all those cruise actions. What we didn't do, descent checklist.
Descent checklist. Minimums.
And that's the 953 set.
VREF and VTarget.
141, 146 set.
Auto brake.
3 set.
Recall.
Checked.
Descent
And
checklist
she will
complete.
push that for you, which is nice. And then we're also at 18,000 feet. We had completed the 18,000 foot approach procedure, so we also need to do approach checklist. She's flipping
Approach
lights.
checklist. Altimeters.
3000 set.
Packs.
Auto.
Start switches.
Left continuous.
Attendant notification.
Complete.
Approach checklist complete.
Again, those are dusty switches. I had them in auto all along. The attendant notification was after she made the PA. We're going to overshoot just a little here. We'll keep it coming around. And now we're looking pretty good. We're trying to be, 3,000 out here. That's still 10 miles away. We're passing through 6. There's the banana. It's going to be just prior to that. In fact, I could easily pull some of the speed off and level change, which will help bring the nose up a little bit, reduce that descent rate a little bit. Watch the banana go out. As it hits the speed, it'll pitch over again, but we're going to be right in there. I shoot for 210, flaps 5, 10 miles out. Let's keep that intercept. Make sure we do intercept that line, the heading. Localizer's in there. Glide slope we're showing low, of course. Makes perfect sense. We did our approach checklist. Now the next item in our procedural item says, when fully configured for landing, we're going to do our before landing checklist. We got this made. We're like 8 miles from that ring. We're going to just let it slow to 210, and I think I got it made. Let's dump the speed brake so we don't forget that. Of course, in the real airplane, you keep your hand on it so you don't forget. At some point, clear to the approach, we can engage our approach mode. Four-load glide slope are armed in white. All of our flap placard speeds are here under the landing gear handle. If you go below the up bug, you need to add at least flaps 1, and then when you go to flaps 1, you'll see the other indicators show up. World capture, looking for a glide slope capture. Of course, the glide slope needle is still high. We're established on the localizer now. One more look at our chart here, that approach. Again, our missed approach is 4,100, so that's what we're going to spin into our altitude window once our glide slope captures. I'm going to easily make my 210 at 10. And somewhere around there, watch this glide slope indicator, because I want to make sure that I have the flaps out before I intercept. Once this aircraft starts going down, it's really hard to slow. So you kind of want to get that drag out before you pick up that path. So let's just go ahead and do it now. Flaps 5. Flaps 5.
Flaps 5.
There we go. When you do that, arm your speed brake. Now you can see these indicators here. If I go below the 1, I need to have flaps 5. So I'm actually good all the way down to about 162 knots in this config. I'm going to spin her back to about 170. And just let it slow naturally. About 2,000 AGL on glide slope. That's where I go flaps, landing gear down, flaps 15. If I'm about 170, I can wait till about 1,700 feet AGL. I do like the HUD because you can cheat a little bit with the radio altimeter here. That's above the ground, not above the touchdown zone, so you might have to do a little bit of math. But generally, it works out pretty well. If you just simply put a 2 in front of this number here, that's your touchdown zone. So at 2953, Barrow is 2,000 feet AGL, of course. Glide slope's coming in. Now, I'll be at 2,000 feet at glide slope intercept, but we're also pretty slow here already, so I wouldn't need to do the flap, the gear and the flaps to 15 immediately. I could delay that ever so slightly, but there's really no reason to. So, grabbing the glide slope here, we'll go landing gear down, flaps 15.
Landing gear down, flaps 15.
And that set that missed approach altitude. Now let's roll this back a little bit so we don't end up getting fast. We're going to bug our target speed. 146, let it slow naturally. Once we pass below the 15 bug, we need to have the flaps to 30. We'll say we've been cleared to land. On our cheat sheet there, it does say taxi light and wheel well light on when cleared to land. Flaps 30.
Flaps 30.
Now we're going to be fully configured, looking for 5 green lights, speed brake, landing gear, 3 green, and then the flaps with the green light here. So now we're fully configured before landing checklist.
Before landing checklist. Speed brake,
Orange green light,
landing gear,
down 3 green,
flaps,
30 green light.
before landing checklist complete.
A little bit of what's going on in the HUD here, the 3-degree line. If you keep that right on the 1,000 footers of the runway, that's right where you're aiming at. The big circle is me, the little circle is the flight director. It tells me I should go to the right ever so slightly, but we're pretty much nailed on the localizer and glide slope.
1,000.
1,000 feet.
And I would usually say 1,000 feet, airspeed 147, sync rate 900. And that's just an indication that you're stabilized. Watching that HUD, I do like that radio altimeter again, because at about 40 or 30 feet, that's when I'll start bringing the nose up, slowly rotating the nose up to an almost level pitch attitude, just a slight descent at around 10 feet, so that last 10 feet there's just a slight sink rate to the runway. I'm going to bring everything off here, make sure our power is on it. Autopilot away.
500.
We're just driving that 3-degree line right at the 1,000 footers. Kind of following the glide slope. You can see the glide slope says we're a little low, the PAPI says we're high. I'm going to keep that 3-degree line on those 1,000 footers. Trying to get it down there.
Light slope.
There it is. And I'm on the PAPI visual.
100.
Approaching minimums.
Bring the power out.
50.
Bring the nose up.
30. 10.
3, 2, 1. There it
Extended.
is. Right on the center line.
Deployed.
Thrust reversers are out. Keep the center line through that fire warning switch. You can see that V on the HUD. Keep that on the center line.
Auto brake disarm.
Brake down. Out of 60 knots. Out of reverse.
On behalf of this flight crew and
Speed,
Southwest
we'll take
Airlines, welcome to Knoxville.
exit here.
Please remain seated with your
What
seatbelt
we're going to do,
fastened,
we're going to stow
seat
the
back
HUD,
and tray table in their
and we're
full
going to
upright
bring the
locked
airplane up to a
position,
stop.
and
And
all
we're
carry-on
clearing that
items
side stripe, the
completely
white
under the
stripe.
seat
We
in
call for
front of you.
flaps up from
When
our
the captain turns off the
first
fasten
officer.
seatbelt sign, please be
Get the
careful when
airplane up here
opening
a
the
little
overhead
ways,
bins.
make sure our tail
Items
is
may
clear.
have shifted during flight and could fall out.
Runway. And we're going to go ahead and
You may
stop
now
just for
use
the
the
purposes
cellular
of cleaning up
function
the
of your
aircraft. Set
small
the parking
portable
brake.
electronic devices.
And we'll go through our
but
after
please remain
landing
seated and leave your carry-ons
process
stowed.
here.
Please
Again,
be
you can take
advised
a look
the
at that
aircraft
here and all
doors
the
will be
items that we're going to do. If
during
we
ground
asked
servicing.
Rachel
For your
to
safety,
do flaps
please ensure
up,
that you and any
she would
children
actually
you are
do all of this
supervising
for us. So
remain
again,
clear
take
of the
advantage
front
of
and
that
back doors.
instead of trying to run through all
If
this
you are
yourself.
connecting
But at
here
least
to
this way you
another
understand
Southwest
everything
flight,
that's
please
happening.
check the monitors in
So
the
we're just going to
terminal
go
for
through
your
this.
flight
Speed
and
brake,
crew number. We certainly have enjoyed
down.
sharing
As the
part of our
captain
day
calls for
with
flaps
you.
up,
We
captain
know that you
puts the
have a
speed brake
choice
lever
when you
down.
fly.
Flaps
We
come up
thank you
from
for
the
choosing
FO.
Southwest Airlines.
Again, you can start that clock. Again, about a 33-minute flight. Wheels up, wheels down. We're going to start that clock for our engine cool down. Auto brake off. Again, watch how this flows. We're going to go up, over, up to the clock, across. We're going to go across and then up. So the next item after auto brake, landing lights. When we turn off lights, we'll start the keep the taxi light on. We're going to start the APU. Now we could leave these lights on until we cross the runway, but for the purposes of this, we're just going to turn these off. Engine start switch is off. Position lights, turn off the strobes all the way down is steady. Logo and wing lights can come off. Anti-ice as required. Had you had the engine anti-ice or the wing on at this point, turn it all off, unless of course you need it on the ground. You would only use the engines on the ground. Probe heat off. Window heat off. Once the APU is fully up and started, we can bring that on the bus. Put that up here on APU Gen. And the last item we have on that list is, because we didn't really know where to put it, we need to turn it off at some point, is that taxi light. When you approach the top of your J line at your gate, you want to make sure you bring that taxi light off. And really all that's for is so you don't blind your ground crew. Again, we can do the lights on, clear left, clear right, clear to cross. Of course, just follow ATC's instructions here. The last thing we'll do then is our engine shutdown procedure and terminating procedure at the gate. Things got fast there, you know, short flights like that, you're working pretty hard, getting all that information, your landing data, weather, all that stuff, get everything plugged in, everything programmed, briefed up. I always used ABCs, which is ATIS for the weather. Then build, bug, brief. You know, you build the approach in the FMC, you bug the approach with the different frequencies, courses, barrel mins. Brief the approach, and then C's your basically your checklist, your descent approach checklist. So all those things have to be done. It all happens pretty quick. And, for the most part, I don't think we missed too much. Again, use Rachel. She's got all these checklists here available for you, all these procedural flows available for you. You know, some of these things are not highlighted here because we are in green because, you know, we basically skipped, we didn't use her for those items. We'll scoot on up here, we'll grab our gate. Once you're past that 1 minute mark, you can actually shut down one of your engines. Usually we'll shut down number 2. Then you'd have to reconfigure your air panel. But I don't think that's anything that we need to be concerned about today. Keep in mind when you make turns in this, the nose wheel's actually behind you, so you kind of want to overshoot everything a little bit. Alright, there's the top of the line. That yellow box, that's kind of what we're talking about, the top of the J line. Let's take the taxi light off. Also, do not forget to bring your APU on, because when you go to shut the engines off, you're going to have no power, and that's going to be embarrassing. Also, I mean, you don't have a marshaller in this sim, so keep that firelight right on that yellow line, and then you can cheat in here, and we can bring it to a stop without slamming people into the seats. Parking brake is set, and we're just going to run through our engine shutdown procedure. Parking brake is set, engine start levers cut off. Now, before you do that, do double check that that APU is on the bus. Again, that's embarrassing if you don't do that. Seatbelt sign off. Anti-collision light off. Fuel pumps. What we did is they said one left pump on because the APU draws from the left side of the left wing. So we want to leave one of those pumps on for our APU while it's still running. Electric hydraulic pumps off. Again, Rachel would do all of this over here, all the FO duties for you, should you ask her to do so. APU bleed on. Now that we're on the APU, we can bring air from the APU. You can watch this duct pressure rise. Okay. With the APU bleed on and the engine's off. Packs are in auto. Isolation valve open because we want to be able to get air to get to that number 2 pack. Watch that number 2 duct pressure rise once we open that up. And now equalized out, we're getting air to both the left and right hand packs. Transponder. Let's get ourselves in a better view here. Transponder, we're going to go standby and zeros. Of course, I did forget to turn that back to TARA a while back. Leave it in TARA, and then our L1 door, if we want credit for this flight through LC5, we're going to have to go ground services. We might as well hook up, set the chocks, get our ground power, which is actually on our next checklist, and then doors. We could go ahead and open our door. Then we get credit for the flight report. All right, so let's do, now that we've done all that, let's do our last checklist, well, second to last, parking checklist.
Parking checklist. Parking brake.
Set,
Start levers.
cut off,
Anti-collision light.
off,
Fuel pumps.
one on,
Window heat.
off,
Probe heat.
auto,
Anti-ice.
off,
Hydraulic pumps.
electrics off,
Start switches.
off,
Oil quantity.
92%,
Hydraulic quantity.
92%,
Radar.
test,
Transponder.
standby and zeros.
Parking checklist complete.
Alright, we did that. All that's left is the terminating, if that's what you're looking to do. If you're going to go out for another flight, it's up to you. Do you want to restart from a cold, dark state? Do you want to take it from where it is now? Go through that pre-flight cockpit preparation again, start from there. There is a through-flight procedure. It's abbreviated. You can look that up on the VA's website through those flow documents or the VA's AOM. Otherwise, if you're done and you want to terminate, you don't want to terminate, you can simply exit the sim now. If you want to do the termination, we'll do it like this. I believe it's our FS action. We already did this already, but we would set the chocks, ask for ground power. Once we have our ground power, again, should you choose to, you can select ground power. You got good voltage. Bring that online. I would suggest then bringing the APU off because it does need 2 minutes to spin down before we can turn the battery off. If we want, we can start a clock. Our next item, APU bleed off, packs off, isolation auto. This really here would be optional, but I would still recommend doing it so that it's set for your startup for your next flight, if this was a real aircraft. Fuel pumps, we're going to turn off that remaining fuel pump. That APU is spinning down. Stab trim in the green band, as long as it's anywhere in this green band, you're fine. Leave it in the green band. IRS switches straight to off. 30 seconds, watch the line light go out, but we need 30 seconds from that light to extinguish. So really we're looking for about quarter after. We need 2 minutes for the APU anyway. Emergency exit lights we can bring off. External lights all off. That center position is off for the position and strobes. And we'll say it's been 2 minutes on our APU. Ground power off. Battery off. And what we say is 1 blue light. We are all set. So that is your terminating procedure. We do have a terminating checklist that I can't have her do for me because the flight's already been closed out, but you can take a look at what that checklist looks like. If you are interested in obtaining this document, you can ask through the VA Discord shoot Greg a message and see if he can send you this document to you. It's his doc, so I don't want to send it out. He can be the one that does that. If you have any questions on anything, of course, you've got the training staff with the VA. You've got the Discord. You can ask their questions. And I hope that helps.